Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to the podcast. I feel like it's been a while. I've missed you. But Lord willing, we are going to be back to weekly podcasts from now on. But before I get ahead of myself, today's episode is about why I'm leaving Instagram. And spoiler alert, it's for Lent. But I'm going to share a little bit more about the reasonings and things that God's been revealing to me. But I hope that this episode is a catalyst for you to think about what you might give up for Lent if you're listening to this in real time. Otherwise, I hope it provides you with some encouragement for leaving Instagram, even if it's just for a season. And yeah, I am excited, and I'll catch you inside the episode. Hey friend, welcome to Beyond the Booze. I'm your host, Victoria Plummer, daughter of the Most High, wife, boy mom, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. I know that you are sick of wallowing in shame after another night of binge drinking. I know that you want to quit, but you can't imagine a life without alcohol. My mission is to set you free from the lies, fears, and habits that are keeping you stuck in a toxic relationship with alcohol. In this podcast, you'll learn about spiritual growth, personal development, healthy lifestyle habits, and recovery education so that you can start living a life you love. If you're ready to take your power back, grow in your faith, and live a more purposeful life, you are in the right place. Whip up your favorite mocktail. Let's do this. Have you ever tried to talk to someone while they're on their phone or looking at something on social media? You share something really important and wait for their response. Nothing. Hello? It's because they don't hear you. They're too distracted to hear that important thing you are trying to tell them. This is what I imagine happens in our relationship with God. And then we complain that we're not hearing from him. But I think more often he is speaking to us, but we aren't listening. We're too distracted. Mark 4:19 says, "But the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful." This is a post that I shared on Instagram just the other day about why I'm leaving Instagram, right? Because I feel like we live in this society right now that is just so distracted and so busy. Like in other countries, you hear about like demonic, like things actually happening, like really scary things. And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just saying like, you don't hear about that in the US because we are all so distracted. Like we have these phones in front of our faces so much, and it's like we're in a trance, like I just imagine that all the time, that we're just like in a trance, like in front of these phones. And then on top of that, okay, I guess I'm just like heading straight into the episode because the bone I have to pick with Instagram is that it is like, just like all social media, well, maybe not all social media, but Instagram and Facebook and maybe TikTok. I don't really know. I can't speak on TikTok, but a lot of people are also very addicted to TikTok. But anyways, these social media platforms are created to be addictive. Like they're created in a way that keeps us distracted on our phones all the time. Like that's literally how they were programmed. And they use, the people who program these apps, they use like psychology and like the way that humans naturally are to get them to be on the apps even longer. And so that's a big bone I have to pick with Instagram or Facebook in particular, is that it's created and it is like addictive. And obviously this is a podcast about sobriety. So it's just, I don't like that about it, right? I really don't like that. I don't like that it's created to be addictive and that it is addictive, and that I find my thumb like wandering to Instagram more often than I find myself going to prayer. It's so convicting when you really just think about it and like look at it with a sober mind. You're not lying to yourself. You just see like, this is what it is. Like, God's trying to talk to me and I'm too busy scrolling social media or filling the time with any sort of noise, anything to keep me distracted. Like, you can't just sit still for a minute and that God speaks to us in the stillness. He speaks to us in those quiet moments, but we don't have enough quiet moments to hear from him. And sorry, I'm like trying not to ramble, but that's part of this, right? That's kind of like part of why I decided to give it up for Lent. Like, God has been like, every time I go on a hike, that's kind of my time where I really try to connect with God. And I mean, I do a morning quiet time, but I really love to connect with God when I'm in nature and when I go hiking. And he's really been, just sending me this message. Like a couple podcasts ago, I shared one about how God like has to slow us down to speed us up. And really, he's continuing to press this message to slow down to me. He's been, trying to slow me down. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know at least one person in my Facebook community has voiced this, that she's noticed that this is something that God is like speaking to her, to slow down and be content with what she has. And also, another friend of mine is also feeling that same conviction that like God's like trying to slow her down. And yeah, so okay, I'm already like kind of getting into the reasons why I'm leaving Instagram, right? I'm leaving Instagram for the season of Lent, because Lent is a season where I think that, what most people do is they give something up or they take something on for the season of Lent for 40 days. And so I felt like I should give up something that distracts me from my relationship with God. And so social media is one of those big, big distractions. So instead of, being on social media, I could be reading my Bible, or I could be praying, or I could be just sitting in the quiet and, trying to commune with God. So yeah, that's one reason is for Lent that I'm leaving social media. A second reason, it is a distraction from hearing him, which I've kind of already mentioned that. Like, if you talk to somebody when they're on their phone, like, people just can't hear you. They just like are so engrossed in their phones that anything you say to them is just like doesn't register. Like, they usually just completely ignore you. And if God speaks to us in a still small voice and in the quiet, we probably aren't hearing him when we're scrolling social media. And then another reason is, like, again, a big theme is to slow down. Something God really has been speaking to me is to slow down so that I can enjoy the journey. And I think that's so beautiful, right? Like, in my mind, slowing down is just like, it's, I was talking to one of my coaches about this, and she's like, slowing down when you like are a person who's like kind of like a go-getter and like very excited, it sounds like a swear word, and you're just like, no, I can't. Like, you're like kicking and screaming. But what I've also realized is slowing down doesn't mean stopping, which I've also, again, this is something I've talked with my coach about. So this is not all just all from me. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, it's good to have wise counsel, right? Like that, we know that from the Bible. It says that success comes from having a multitude of counselors. So yeah, this is something I've talked to my coach about, and yeah, she just reminded me that slowing down doesn't mean to stop. But again, like, I went hiking the other day, and I felt like that was kind of what God was showing me, is that he wanted me to enjoy the journey, not just rush through to the next experience or the next mountaintop moment. He wanted me to really like take it in, like, and yeah. And then the second, or sorry, I don't even know where I'm at. Probably like fourth reason. Fourth reason. Let's see, where am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth reason is to remain in him. I wanted to share this scripture that I've been reflecting on a lot, and I really love it, and hopefully you enjoy it too. But it's John 15, starting at verse 1. It says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful." And yeah, that's just verse 1 and 2. And I really love that one because, so it's saying that Jesus is the vine, that the Father is the gardener, and that he cuts off every branch that bears no fruit. And when I think about this, like when I think about every branch that bears no fruit, I think about, for me, it was like alcohol. Like alcohol was like a branch that bared no fruit. So it got cut off. And then it says, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. So I feel like with Instagram, it's something that does bear fruit. It's an area where I am able to be a light, and I am able to, like, you know, reach people. And I've received lots of, messages on Instagram, and where my words have touched someone else. And I like Instagram because I am able to connect with people that I normally wouldn't connect with. Like, I love sending voice memos and just connecting. Like, I really love that about Instagram. But again, it's also one of those areas where I feel like I'm wasting time. And I know that that's probably like a boundary thing for me, that I need to have better boundaries with social media. But again, it's also one of those things where it's like, it's literally created to be addictive. So, like, if it's created to be addictive, like, it's really hard to moderate something that's made to be addictive. But anyways, Lord willing, there be a way. Lord willing, there is a way to figure this out. But yeah, so it says, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. So I feel like this is kind of like an area where I'm being pruned to be even more fruitful, because that's like his goal. So let me finish reading this part. Verse 3 says, "You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." And then it says, verse 5, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." And I feel like, yeah. So again, one of the reasons is so that I can remain in him. Because I feel like, because social media is a distraction, like, although I know I am in him and he is in me, I feel like there's room for growth there to really, slow down to his pace and, abide in him more, if that makes sense. Because, like, by myself, the goal is to change lives and for, people's lives to change so that they can change lives in their life, right? Like it's kind of like a domino effect. Like my goal is to set people free so that they can go in, like walk in their purpose. But I can't do that in my own strength. So if I'm not connected to the vine, if I'm working in my own strength and I'm not connected and abiding and remaining and walking with Jesus, then my efforts aren't going to produce fruit. So yeah, that's another reason. And then a last reason is, again, it kind of goes along with like slowing down, because I feel like I don't know where Jesus is leading me right now. And I don't know if he's shifting my direction, but it doesn't make sense to like rush in the wrong direction, right? Like if I'm rushing all by myself and I'm going the wrong direction, then I'm like, wherever I'm supposed to be going is going to take me a lot longer and it's going to be a lot more stressful than it should because I'm going the wrong direction. So I think why Jesus wants me to slow down is that so I can stay in pace with him and walk where he's leading me to walk, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I was thinking about, like when you're at like a stoplight, right? Or you're driving down the street and you're going kind of like at a slower pace, you're going the speed limit, and someone like races past you and they're driving off frantically, and then y'all both end up at the same red light. But you were like going slow, you're going the speed limit, you're enjoying the journey, you're like in a peaceful state. And then this person is rushing around, like, could have caused an accident. And they still end up at the same place, but they're at like a much more frantic pace. And yeah, I feel like that's not what Jesus wants for us. So those are some of the reasons that I'll be leaving Instagram and slowing down this season. I hope this was helpful for you as you process leaving Instagram yourself, or if you're deciding to give up something that's distracting you for Lent. And if you're wondering, like, okay, Victoria, you're not going to be on Instagram, you're not going to be in the Facebook group, like, how are we going to stay in touch? I'm actually starting a weekly email newsletter, and I'm pretty excited about that because I feel like that's also, another way that I want to stay connected. I feel like it's a slower pace than Instagram. It's a little bit more personal. And I'm excited to start emailing you. So there's a link in the show notes for you to subscribe to my email list. And I'll be sending a weekly email with encouragement, with life updates, invitations to free offers like workshops. I have some things in mind that I want to offer. And and also paid offers whenever I relaunch Vibrant and Free or launch life coaching. Whenever I begin offering that, if you're on the email list, you'll be able to join that. And let me see if is there anything else. Just life updates, encouragement, free and paid offers, and a link for the weekly podcast in case you miss it. So hit the link in the show notes and subscribe, and we will stay connected over this Lent season, and I will catch you in the next episode. I hope you have a great one.